Hey guys, Psyant here with another Pokken mechanics video, and this time I'm going to be telling you everything you need to know about synergy. So everyone knows the basics of how the synergy meter builds and how synergy burst works, but I thought I'd go over some of the details to make things a little bit more clear, as well as cover some of the more obscure mechanics you might not have noticed. In addition to the basics, I'll also be covering specifics such as how each of the characters gain synergy meter at different rates and how long their synergy bursts last. So hopefully there'll be something to learn in this video for both beginners and veterans alike. Anyway, we've got a lot to talk about in this video, so let's get started. Before I get into the specifics of how the synergy gauge works, I'll briefly go over the benefits of synergy burst. The first and most obvious effect of synergy burst is that it gives you access to your burst attack, a powerful ultimate move that can completely change the momentum of the match in your favour. Additionally, it also gives you armour against some attacks, allowing you to take them without flinching. This armour protects against most moves done with the Y button, as well as some weak attacks done with the A button, such as Pikachu's Thunderbolt. However, there are exceptions of course, and many Y button moves actually can cause flinching, including moves that cause a phase shift in the field phase, and certain attacks in the dual phase, some examples being Pikachu's jumping weak attack and forward weak attack. This armour effect only applies when being hit with a weaker move from a neutral state. Once you make an opponent using Synergy Burst flinch with a strong attack first, you can then continue using weak moves in your combos as normal. Furthermore, both players being under the effects of Synergy Burst will cancel the armour effect for both sides, restoring things back to normal. Additionally, your character can undergo changes to their moveset while in Synergy Burst, ranging from slight improvements on certain attacks, like with Pikachu, to complete moveset overhauls, as seen with Gengar. Many Pokemon that have inbuilt drawbacks also have them removed during Synergy Burst, such as Machamp not needing to bulk up to use his enhanced A moves, or Blaziken doing less self-damage than normal. Additionally, many characters get a significant increase to their movement speed, as well as a 10% bonus to both their attack and defense. You can also use Jirachi to further magnify this boost, making you extremely powerful while under the effects of Synergy Burst. Also, don't forget that the shockwave created when you activate your Synergy Burst is an extremely powerful defensive tool. It starts up instantly, destroys nearby projectiles and pushes your opponent back in addition to making you briefly invulnerable. As such, it can be a good way to get out of a disadvantaged situation, such as waking up. With all that out of the way, let's move on to how you can actually fill up your synergy gauge. The most obvious way to gain synergy is simply landing hits on your opponent, but there are many other ways besides this, and some are less obvious than others, so I'll cover them all in detail now. First, let's go over the basic ways to gain synergy gauge boosts without outside help. You gain a small bonus to your synergy gauge when you land any move on your opponent that deals damage, or take damage yourself. This includes chip damage, that being damage you take while blocking. This means while damage is being dealt by either side, both characters' synergy gauges will be filling up. One overlooked detail to this is the general rule that in the field phase, dealing damage fills up the synergy gauge faster than taking it, but in the dual phase it's actually the opposite, and receiving damage fills up the synergy gauge faster than dealing it. However, this is just a general rule, and there are many exceptions to it. The most notable is Pokemon moves, which often give much more synergy to the character being hit than the one using them, regardless of the phase. That said, the amount of synergy you get for both taking and receiving damage is very low, with most of your synergy coming from other sources, so let's move on to those. You can also gain synergy by using any move in the field phase even if it doesn't actually connect. Some moves, like Pikachu's side ranged attack, are particularly good for this. In the dual phase however, you need to actually connect with an attack to gain any synergy meter. This rewards you for being proactive in the field phase, notably in the form of throwing out relatively safe projectiles on an opponent who guards a lot. Some characters can also hold a stance in the dual phase to charge their synergy. Besides Pikachu, these also include Lucario, Garchomp, Mewtwo, and Shadow Mewtwo. Moving on to bigger gains, causing a phase shift from the dual phase to the field phase, or landing a critical hit on your opponent both give a healthy bonus to your synergy gauge. Note that for some critical hits you gain more of a boost to your synergy gauge if you interrupt their attack early rather than late. This is most obvious in the case of grabbing someone out of the startup of their counter, where you'll gain more synergy than for grabbing it late into the animation. Additionally, clashing two moves together gives synergy to both players, and you can also gain a large amount of synergy by countering attacks. Finally, causing a phase shift from the field phase to the dual phase will give you the largest boost. And that's the thing to really take note of here, the quickest way to fill up your synergy gauge is by causing phase shifts. Additionally, causing a phase shift in the field phase is much more valuable than causing one in the dual phase, and in general it's considerably easier to fill up your synergy bar by winning exchanges in the field phase. If you find yourself constantly losing in the field phase, you will really struggle to build up synergy even if you're doing well in the dual phase. With all that covered, let's move on to talking about synergy you gain from outside sources. To start with, let's talk about supports. First of all, you gain synergy gauge by hitting your opponent with any offensive support, similar to dealing damage yourself, though this varies by the support in question. For example, hitting with Yveltal gives a fairly large boost, while hitting with Fennekin or Mulga gives almost nothing. Some supports also give you a direct boost to your synergy gauge. Victini gives you a small boost, Jirachi a medium boost, and Cresselia a large boost. Additionally, Umbreon can steal some of your opponent's synergy gauge, giving it to you. However, it's important to note that synergy gain from supports is based off of a flat number rather than by percents, so characters that build synergy quickly get more use out of, say, Cresselia than ones that build synergy slowly. Cheers are another good way to build synergy. The Synergy Cheer gives you 10% of your synergy gauge starting from the first round, every round, regardless of whether you win or lose. The Standard Synergy Cheer gives you a 30% bonus to the synergy gauge if you lose a round, and the Special Cheer gives you a 40% boost when you win a round. These boosts are actually percentage based unlike supports, so gaining synergy from cheers is more useful for characters that take a long time to build up synergy. The final source you can gain synergy from is Synergy Power. Synergy Power is the name of the small objects scattered around the stage during the field phase that give you a boost to your synergy when you walk over them. Synergy Power S gives you a small boost and spawns in multiples every time you enter the field phase. Additionally, if you reach the final round of a match, Synergy Power L, which gives a large boost, will spawn in the centre of the stage. There's also Synergy Power XL, which can instantly fill up your synergy gauge, but this is only found on the Dark Colosseum stage. Moving on, now that we've discussed all the ways to gain synergy, here's a question for you. Can you continue to gain more synergy while it's drained away from using your synergy burst? The answer is actually yes. However, there are only two ways to gain more synergy as it drains away. These are causing a phase shift and picking up synergy power. It's actually possible to stay on your synergy burst for much longer than normal if you keep causing phase shifts in rapid succession. Though this is unlikely in a real match, it is something to keep in mind as it rewards you for playing aggressively during your synergy burst and going for high damage combos in the duel phase that will cause phase shifts immediately. While not as common, there are also some ways you can lose synergy. These include taking damage while using your synergy burst, being guard broken, and being hit by moves with a synergy draining property such as Weavar's knockoff attack. There are some more character specific cases to look out for, such as Gengar being able to drain synergy from you with his grab, and Mewtwo having to use his own synergy gauge to fuel his special attacks. Yveltal, besides draining your synergy, also prevents you from going into synergy burst for a while, and if you're already in synergy burst, it prevents you from using your burst attack. Now that we've covered how you can gain and lose synergy, let's get on to the good stuff. The next most important issue to look at is the difference between how quickly the individual characters fill up their synergy gauge. I actually tested this using a simple method of seeing how many calls of Victini, which gives a set small synergy gauge boost, it took to fill each character's synergy gauge. It soon became obvious while I was testing that many characters have identical synergy gauge fill rates. As such, I've put the characters into several groups. All the characters in each group gain synergy at an identical rate. So without further ado, here's the official Victini scale. In the very fast group we have Pikachu, Pikachu Libre, Shadow Mewtwo and Weavile. In the fast group we have Blaziken, Braixen, Charizard, Gardevoir and Lucario. Making up the average we have Chandelure, Machamp, Sceptile and Suicune. In the slow charging group we have Garchomp and Gengar. And finally, clocking in a very slow 27 Victini, we have Mewtwo. Next I looked into how long each character's synergy burst lasts. You might assume that it would be related to how quickly they charge their synergy gauge, but it's actually completely different. Once again, I'll put the Pokemon into several groups as many share the same times. First off, the owner of the shortest synergy burst lasting only 10 seconds is Shadow Mewtwo. Following that, we have Mewtwo, Machamp, Chandelure, Weavile, Charizard and Garchomp at 12 seconds each, Blaziken, Pikachu, Pikachu Libre, Lucario, Sceptile, Braixen and Suicune lasting 14 seconds each, Gardevoir sitting by herself at 16 seconds, and reigning supreme at 18 seconds is Gengar. Interestingly, there wasn't much correlation between synergy charge time and duration. There's actually something else to consider though. Remember how earlier I mentioned one of the ways you can lose synergy is by taking damage while in synergy burst. Each character's synergy gauge will suffer different amounts of drain from being hit. As you now know, the characters that gain synergy slowly do so because their synergy gauges are effectively bigger in terms of how much synergy they can hold, which means that while they take longer to fill, they're also more resistant to losing synergy. This is important because it affects how you should play against each character's synergy burst. For example, Pikachu has a small synergy gauge, which means doing big damage to him while he's using synergy burst will drain large amounts of his synergy gauge. Mewtwo on the other hand, due to having such a large synergy bar, will not lose much of his synergy gauge even if you land a burst attack or heavily damaging combo on him while he's using synergy burst. Once you understand that Mewtwo has both a short duration and highly drain resistant synergy burst, you know that the best strategy is generally to run away, whereas if a character builds synergy quickly but has a long synergy burst duration, such as Pikachu, it can be better to try and land a damaging blow to drain their synergy gauge rather than trying to stall out time. Overall, knowing how synergy works will really help you plan out your battles and help you get the most out of your synergy burst. Alright, so that just about covers everything I wanted to talk about in this video. It was quite a lot, so thanks for sticking with me this long. You can find an image version of the character synergy rankings in the description if you want to use it as a quick cheat sheet. I'm planning to release some more Pokken videos in the near future, so keep an eye out for them. In the meantime, thanks for watching.